over to the stories that made it to the front pages of the newspaper, starting with the Daily Trust newspaper. We have right there boldly on the Daily Trust newspaper, cholera-related death rise as Lagos, Jigawa, Kano lead in casualties. 10,837 suspected cases recorded nationwide in 9 months. 359 die in 21 states. NCDC blames rainfall on open defecation and experts proffer solutions. That there is found on page 4. You would see the numbers per state. Now, Supreme Court to hear 16 state suits against EFCC on October 22nd. Fresh hurdle for local government autonomy as Soludo introduces bill for funds deduction. And on the top right, we have Boko Haram kills 2 soldiers, village head and others in Borno ambush. Now, coming down to the bottom left, bandits kill, abduct Kebbi district head, operatives rescue 8. And Paul Biya in good health, Cameroon government says. We are yet to lift oil from Dangote refinery, says Ipman. 5 missing, 20 rescued in Lagos boat collision. Now, those are the stories we have on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. So if you're interested in any one of them, do well to pick it up and take a look at the stories for your interest. Now, moving on to The Guardian. Right there on the front page, anxiety as federal government commits state funds to Special Development Commission. There's an infographic there that describes giving how it's been, allocated and all. Abuja court judgment on VIO inapplicable in Lagos. Government declares. Okay. Now, Wike gives condition to end political crisis in Rivers. And we have LP chieftain urges peace as court affirms Abure's NWC. Airline operators opt to patronize Dangote refinery for jet fuel. We also have that on the front page of Guardian. And federal government unveils national values charter for nationhood patriotism. Now, we look forward to seeing that. And the court sentences teacher to life imprisonment for defiling 2 7-year-olds. Well, justice served. Still on the bottom right, service disruption imminent as Kogi defies presidential order, seals base stations. Now, these are the stories we have on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. So, if you want to get that, well, do well to, get the Guardian newspaper and look out for them. All right, now moving on to Vanguard. For Vanguard, we have arson, oil output in rivers threatened if, says Fubara. Fubara, architect of Rivers crisis, says Wike, says arsonists will account for setting local government headquarters ablaze, vows corporates will be fished out, swears in BP and 3 others as commissioners, basically everything that's playing out in River State. And we see on the top there, CBN assures public on financial system stability and safety of funds. Yes. We also have Edo Guba. Again, INEC denies PDP Godalo access to beavers and other poll items. Nigeria can become a refining hub, says Dangote. Local airlines to buy jet fuel only from Dangote refinery. Would that see a reduction in the cost of when it comes to the money for flights in Nigeria? Questions that are yet to be answered. Gunmen kill 5 in Anambra community. And on the bottom, 21 fair dead, 11 rescued as boats collide in Lagos. And then court orders INEC to recognize Abura as Labour Party's national chairman. Flooding. Dredge River, Niger, Benue now, Senate tells Tinubu. And in sports, AFCON 2025 qualifier, Eguavon uphit Super Eagles. I'll beat Libya. All right. Well, we look forward to that. These are the questions we have on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. Now, let us join our guest who will be looking at the stories on the front pages of the newspaper. We have Ben Shemang, former director of News Voice of Nigeria, is joining us via Zoom to review some of the headlines on the pages of today's papers. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Ben Shemang. All right, kicking off with the first story we have right here, boldly on the front page of Daily Trust, still talking about cholera as death toll rises in Lagos, Jigawa, Kano. These states lead in casualties. Now, it was almost like we're just looking at it with one eye, gradually, and we see that cholera is becoming, a lot of people are dying and suffering from it as the rainy season is probably dwindling down in some places. This is something that we've struggled with over every rainy period, every rainy season. There's always a story of cholera outbreak. Now, what's your take on cholera-related death in Nigeria at this point in time, where other countries are moving beyond it?
I think there is a lackluster approach to handling killer diseases like this. These are things that are preventable. How will a health expert begin to blame rain for the cholera outbreak? If we know that there's going to be rain, what have we done in terms of ensuring that we have clean environment? Those days that we used to have environmental health experts, Dubagali and Hausa that they used to call them. They check gutters, they check everything, and they ensure that things are done in their correct form. Then when it is dry season, we're talking about meningitis here and there. Again, our health experts will blame the environment. The place is hot. There's no rain. There's nothing to cool the environment. There's no this. There's no that. We have to look at the healthy environment that we ought to have. Now that we don't have, of course, these are the consequences. Federal, local government, federal and state should just join hands and ensure that things are done the correct way. In fact, even the traditional institutions, religious institutions, health is all encompassing for everybody.
All right, thank you for your thoughts on that. Now let's look at what is playing out in River State since the election, the burning down of Secretariat, the back and forth between Fubara and Wike, and how it's affecting the state. What's your thought on the happenings in River State at the moment?
I think that Wike should just simply play a very good political godfather, and if he wants to control River State, I think that a better way of doing it is to embark on a peaceful means. It should not be by use of force. I think so, in my own opinion, because if you look at it, the consequences are just damn too many. I'm sure. I mean, Amechi didn't do that to Peter Odili, and of course, there is peace. Even if it's silence or the peace of the graveyard, but you don't see destructions and killing, wanton destruction and killing of human beings is just not needed. And look at the contradictory judgments from the court system. Then at the point you said police should not. How can the court tell police not to do their traditional jobs? And surprisingly, the police did not provide cover for that election. And the other surprise was the fact that the elections were done peacefully. Take it or leave it. During the election, there were no killings, no riots, nothing. What we have now is post-election violence, and these are all avoidable. And they are also, once it is post-election violence, and during the election there was no crisis, it means it's now calculated, planned, skewed to ensure that it takes place, and that makes the criminal act. And that's why the governor is also saying some people have to pay for it. And you can imagine, even when the police withdrew and the elections took place, and thereafter you now did deployment. With your deployment, then arson started. There are too many contradictions, and I think if left unchecked, this thing is capable of consuming Nigeria.
It's the case of godfatherism and play of political, like they always say, when the elephants are fighting, the grass are the ones that suffer at the end of the day. But now let's talk about, briefly, before we go to something else now, we saw a few days ago where the court had banned VIO officials in Abuja from standing by the roadside and checking license and all other things. And, there were certain level of joy in the heart of drivers because of their experiences with VIO officials. First, what's your thought on that move? And secondly, the Lagos State government has declared that such is inapplicable in Lagos State now. What's your take on these two put together? Was it okay for them to ban VIO being on the road? And drivers are rejoicing because I'm pretty sure at this point every Abuja resident has a story or two to tell about their experience with VIO officials. But let's get your take on that.
Yeah, you see, let's compare them, put them side by side or juxtapose with Federal Road Safety Corps. The word there, federal, is very, very key. The Federal Road Safety Corps is to be found in all federal roads where the manpower allows. Now you're talking of VIO, Vehicle Inspection Operations or Unit or whatever they call them. You see, it's not tied to a particular place. Therefore, judgment concerning VIO Maiduguri, and if you check, they are always collecting they help in terms of revenue generation, and it goes to the state where they are. So therefore, any operation that is done in Maiduguri might not necessarily be the same in Akwa Ibom, for example. So the laws that is applicable at the state level in Sokoto may not be the same with the one applicable in Anambra, for example. For the drivers or motorists to jubilate, yeah, they have reason to jubilate. One, because we are not, we don't easily obey laws at all. We have to be forced to obey laws. And that's why you see all this kind of jubilation. But if they were to do their jobs properly, yes, they assist in terms of revenue generation. This revenue will be used in terms of public utility and all that stuff. So for the law not to be applicable to Lagos, yeah, you look at the content. If in Abuja, this is what it says in Abuja, you cannot carry it and apply to Lagos. Except these laws are unified, harmonized, it won't be applicable anywhere. There won't be theory of general application. Now, what is happening in Kaduna State must happen in Calabar or Cross River State.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ben Shemang, for sharing your insightful thoughts on us on the stories that made it to the front page of the newspaper. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, that was Ben Shemang, news director, Voice of Nigeria there, sharing his two pieces on the stories that made it to the headlines and the front pages of newspapers this morning. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, we've come to the wrap of our show this morning. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for starting your day with us. Thank you for enjoying the show with us. Thank you for calling in and sharing your opinions with us. Until we see you again tomorrow, my name is Lilian Ogazi. Keep Abuja shining, be a good Nigerian, and hold Nigeria in a positive light wherever you go. Do have a great day and bye for now.